Maybe you should. No, I've got to get pizzas to that observatory over there. And so you get attacked by some like smoke monster, and you like the pizzas fall off, and you're like scrambling around, like, oh no, somebody
Smoke
needs
monster.
the pepperoni.
So I'm swimming through 30 weight motor oil.
Why are these new additions to your game that your intention was to release this fall? What are you doing?
Their primary focus should be surviving litigation.
Someone take his phone. I'll do it. Just give me a key card and a red button that turns off Randy's Wi-Fi.
It pisses me off that they lump racing in with sports. Then you look at this insert F-bomb, Mario Kart and Sonic Racing lumped in with F-125.
An aimless rant. We were just angry.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
What's up, everybody? We are live. It is episode 60-something of the Hardcore Casual Broadcast. He, in the lower right-hand corner, is Jay of F1 Podcast fame. What? That's right hand. The people that are watching are seeing it in the lower right-hand corner.
Oh, gotcha.
What else are we doing? Do I have to have you hold up the L? Anyways, I am Mason of Online Infamy, and we are the conversation at the ER behind you. I'll to elaborate later. But before we get into that, I also have to announce we have a returning guest. He is a YouTuber, a streamer, a gamer, and the most dangerous man on the No Way Out Discord server. He is Bear Adventures. Hello, sir.
How are we doing?
Did I say
guys?
No Way Out?
It is No Man's Sky.
I
That was
said
pretty close.
I said No Way Out. Yeah, the No Man's Sky Discord server.
I'll give it to you. It's close enough. I'm good with it.
But yes, hello, Bear. Thank you for joining us. All right. So, anyways, I guess we'll move on.
I've
yes.
done that too many
Yeah,
times.
see, that's what Jay gets me every time, because I'll do the intro, and then sometimes I'll be like, do Jay's introduction, and he'll say like, oh yeah, hey, what's up, whatever, and then okay, so then I'll like wait for it the next time, and he gives me dead air, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so then the next time I just roll through it, and then he just throws something in there while I'm talking. Yeah, so we're always just landing on top of one another, but. Yeah, it has been a pretty crazy week, I assume, for all of us since last week. And yeah, I didn't have any videos to edit this week. I thought it was going to be an easy week off. And not only was it crazy, I ended up with the cherry on top earlier today, which was I broke my toe. I broke my toe going up the stairs. Yeah, and so I am now the 9-toed injured here on the show.
I'm sorry. You said you broke your toe going up the stairs.
Up the stairs, yeah. So my stairs have a small lip that sticks out over the end, and my left big toe just happened to go like right at the corner where that lip meets the edge, and just a very nice audible pop.
So Barry,
So-
you don't know this yet because you're still in your 20s. But as you get older, sometimes we think we raise our leg high enough to get up a stair, and we don't actually do that. And then we kick our foot into the front of the stair and break our toe.
I
So
will
that's
say
what-
I've
that's
not
something-
broken many bones in my life, but my toes I have broken many times, and it's always for stupid reasons. It's always stupid
Oh,
stuff.
my. Okay,
But,
were you at least doing something cool, like some kind of cool jump, or was it just walking?
No, I was literally just walking up the stairs. I definitely need to have a better story, but yeah, no, it's not like that.
Yeah, we got that.
Jay has way better stories about how he broke his toes. Mine was just errant stair step. But how about you, Jay? Anything non-gaming or entertainment related that you want to get out there for the week that was, while we try to get Bear back?
Bareback. Bareback.
I was gonna let it go.
Yeah, after last week, though, we just can't let him go. But anyway,
Can't quit him.
no, not anything. I mean, crazy week for me, obviously. And I didn't break my toe, thank God. But it's like 1 week without a broken toe, so I'm pretty happy about that. But I did get to enjoy my week as a Star Wars fan, and I'll get into some more of that later, because I don't really want to pigeonhole any particular thing into a category yet, other than to say, even at my age, it's still fun to be a fan. And I do think that we have better on the horizon than Disney has treated us. I think we're starting to see a turnaround, and I'll get into some of that too later. But Yeah, overall decent week, man. I really can't complain. I woke up this morning. That's always a great thing. So
True.
anyway,
Well, and Bear, I also wanted to just to get this out there. Hoping you could give us some of the story because I watched your video one, and those that want to know more, they can go to your video, Bear Adventures on YouTube. But so tell me about this No Man's Sky banning that you got on the Discord because I actually bought the game again because of you, and I started playing through it again, and then popped on like a couple days later and you had been banned unceremoniously so.
Yeah, it was very unceremoniously, honestly. So yeah, if you guys have been kind of following the videos, I'm trying to set up like a big galactic war, right? Kind of like in Star Wars. Like apparently there's a limit how many people. There's a lot of info we gotta put together. But I went into a Discord and I basically just openly said like, "Hey, does anyone want to join like a big war with me?" And I got good perception. I got a lot of good responses. People were interested. And then, man, the moderators, they hit me so hard. Immediately, I'm self-promoting. I'm trying to promote my YouTube channel, all this crazy stuff. In the end, if you want the full details, you can go watch the video. But in the end, we agreed to disagree. Somehow I was promoting and trying to make money. Don't even know how it's possible that he came to that conclusion, but I was hit hard, man. The moderator was not backing down.
So you said agree to disagree. Does that agreement of disagreement result in you no longer being banned, or is this one of those things where you're like, oh, we agreed to disagree, which just means I'm still banned, like nothing changed?
Well, that's the thing. So apparently he said I never got officially banned. He called it I'm quarantined, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's a
I
cute
love
little
moderator.
distinction that they can throw in there.
I love
So
moderator
he
language.
basically said, "You're not banned. You can come back." And I basically said, "I'll just stay out of the Discord because if it's it's a little too I guess hostile is a word I could use for that, but
Toxic.
Yeah, well, it's like, well, whenever you are ruling the universe, just let him know you won't forget. You won't forget the way that you were treated.
my thoughts exactly. It was
Yeah.
like I'll be back, just in a different capacity.
It feels
And
like
you'll be more powerful than he could ever imagine.
Exactly.
It feels like moderators are like the soft core version of HOA presidents.
Oh God.
You give these
right.
people a little bit of authority and they go haywire, especially since the whole purpose of Discord is to pull like minds together to discuss things. And it sounds like to me, what you were trying to do was matchmake like minds into RPing a galactic civil war.
That's exactly what I was trying to do. Yeah, it just, I don't know where the self-promotion came in. Like, I think I tried to link a Discord. They automatically block it, which is kind of weird. But then I linked my email, and then they were like, hey, don't post your email. Well, it's like a burner email, quote unquote, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, if you go to my YouTube channel and then go to the description, the Discord's in there. And that never even made it onto the board. I was blocked before I even went on. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely no like minds meeting in there. That's for sure.
Well, I was curious after seeing that because I saw that video pop up on your thing. I was like, wait, what? What happened? Like, I just bought this game because of you. Like, you were like planning this galactic overthrow, and all of a sudden it was just like, oh, I'm out, guys. But I'm glad that it did not dissuade you from your pursuit of a reign of terror.
Oh no, that will happen.
Good.
That will happen.
Well, to get into what we had lined out for the evening, first I wanted to jump into Hardcore Casual's most anticipated game of the year, which is 007 First Light. We have been following that very closely. Obviously, we've watched, we've done like trailer watch-alongs and trying to like feed on every little morsel of news that we can get, and we did get a little bit more news from the week before. So content creator Jor Raptor actually there were several content creators that were allowed access to play 3 hours of the game, and they weren't allowed to have any of their own game footage. So all the game footage that you're seeing from that meetup that happened. That's all B-roll that was provided by IO. Nobody was allowed to have their own stuff just to protect any spoilers or anything like that. But they were allowed to just talk about their experience, and they didn't have any restrictions on what they could say. But they also got a chance to interview the makers of the game, and so Jor Raptor actually posed a question, and he asked about how long the full game was, and they actually told him. They gave him a number, and they said that the hours for the game was about 20 hours. And some people were upset to hear this. Other people were fine with it. It's just been kind of one of those things, and I wanted to kind of look a little bit deeper into that to kind of maybe put that number into context. But before we do that, as far as hearing that the new 007 game is 20 hours, what are your thoughts on that? Any immediate feelings regarding the 20-hour number?
Well, my initial thought, and and I brought it up when we talked about it, but was that I wasn't happy about the 20 hours, not because I don't think that's enough content. It's that you're trying to hit the ground running with this game and for it to be epic, and there's just no way that a James Bond title is not going to be epic. So people hear 20 hours, they're going to think, man, this is short. But most people are used to playing in sandbox worlds, and I know we're probably going to get into this here in a minute. So, but my initial thought to answer your question was that I wasn't happy, but I also wasn't expecting 100 hours. Let me say that.
Right. Yeah. You weren't expecting like a JRPG like
No.
Persona where you're getting like 150, 300 hours
No.
to go
And
through
I'll
it.
dig into detail when we get into this more, but that's my initial thought.
How about you, Bear?
Yeah, it's a little short. I mean, it kind of brings me back in the day, right? When games were a little shorter and you can like buy a case of Mountain Dew with your friends and play the whole game in one night. So that'd be a fun thing, but I think it is definitely too short. I guess like if we're comparing it to an open world game, that's not fair, really. But
Right.
yeah, 20 hours. I'd like a little more time in the game, probably. Especially if it's good.
Yeah, were you a fan? Were you a fan of the Hitman series that IO had done prior to this, or have you not done a whole lot with the Hitman series?
So I really liked the game. I didn't like it visually speaking. Like I watched a lot of videos on it. I didn't like it enough to buy it and play it through myself. I'm really picky about the games that I buy. It just didn't hit the mark for me. I'm more of like an open world Elden Ring kind of deal game, as you know, like No Man's Sky. But it looked interesting for sure.
So that's one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about, to try to see where we could kind of put this into perspective and get a better understanding about that 20-hour frame that they've kind of put it around. So first of all, it's important to note a couple of things. One is that is a straight playthrough. That's not somebody trying to platinum the game. That's not somebody trying to get every collectible, find all this. Like it's just a story, a narrative playthrough of the game. And one of the things that came out of the 3-hour preview that so many of these content creators and publications got to partake in, one of the things that came out of that was there was a big comparison where they would say it's basically Uncharted meets Hitman, and it would basically it's Hitman style like openness on missions connected by Uncharted style linear but interactive gameplay. So you've got something like where you're maybe chasing someone down. There's not going to be any variation. You're always chasing this guy down. You're running across the same rooftops. You're going to tackle. It's the same sequence every time, just like Uncharted. Like there's not narrative branching, or you don't have a lot of options in how you seek out to complete something. The puzzles have one solution. This thing, but then they have parts where it opens up, and that's where the variety is. And again, as we know, that's one of the things that got them the license for 007 was what they had done with Hitman. And we've talked about their approach there, but that's where it opens up. So it basically says like, hey, you need to get through that door that currently has a guard, and make your way to this room. And the way that you do that can be anything, right? Like you can find an open window and try to sneak in through that. You can find the credentials of somebody and use that and fake your way to walk past them and get through that way. That's where we get a lot of things there. So the fact that it's 20 hours being just a straight narrative isn't sort of looking at the variable sort of gameplay that you can get with the Hitman style stuff and your desire to go back and play through those things. So to put a little bit of perspective on it, I wanted to go through some of the some other game lengths to kind of fill this out to say like, okay, maybe 20 ain't bad. And like Bear said, there was a time whenever like games were shorter, and everybody always talks about how they want shorter games. I'm not one of those people. I really like longer games, but so I was one of those where I first heard that 20, and I was like, I kind of want more, especially since it's our first 007 game like this. But
let
go
me
ahead.
ask you this real quick though. Let me just throw this on the table before you start. If somebody, and knowing that you've also watched a lot of the movies, as I have, if somebody told you they were making a James Bond game and it had 10 missions, they didn't give you a time, they just told you 10 missions, would you be okay with that?
Well, again, just having no concept, I'd be like, that seems small.
Yeah, but 10 missions at 20 hours is 2 hours a mission.
I know.
Give or
That's what I'm saying. It's one of these things where whenever you don't
Yeah.
have any perspective, it's something where it's like, yeah, if you say like 10 missions, you're like, that doesn't, 10 levels.
I'd have to ask for like checkpoints or what kind of equipment can we find? Like I'd have a lot of questions with 10 missions, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we don't know how long these missions are going to take or any of that, but we do have the 20-hour thing. So to kind of put it into context, given that Hitman, and again, Jay and I both love Hitman, we've played. There's no telling how many hours I've put into the Hitman, especially the World of Assassination series of Hitman, where they rebooted it and made it even more open. But the 2016 sort of reboot of the Hitman, what became the first entry in the World of Assassination arc of Hitman, the 2016 game, would you care to take a guess as to how many hours that might have been, Jay, for the narrative?
Oh my God. Well, and we're talking about a straight run through, right?
Straight run
Just
through.
like we are with James Bond. I'm going to say 12 or 13 hours.
You're very close. 11 hours for the main story. So
but to give Bear some, since you passed on it, Bear, I wanted to tell you this. I did a video like 5 years ago on just the first mission in Paris, and I did it 11 different ways.
That's the point.
11
That's
different
a lot of
ways.
variation.
And
so
for a lot of people to say it's not open world, it is open within the setting that you're in all the time, which is great.
Yeah.
So, but I also understand where you're coming from. Sorry, Mason,
it has multiple worlds that are open.
Yes.
So basically, I'll just go through them. I won't make you guess every one, but so we had the first Hitman in 2016, or the first of the rebooted Hitman in 2016.
Yeah.
At 11 hours. Hitman 2 was 10 to 15 hours for a straight playthrough.
I believe it.
And then Hitman 3, which released in 2021, was a mere 8 to 12 hours. But we have spent so much time in those worlds because of the format. It's like the one playthrough is not all you're going to get out of a game from IO. You're going to want to say like, okay, where we have these open-ended sort of things where it's like, well, everybody's going to do the same thing. Everybody's going to get through the door. Everybody's going to steal the car, or everybody's going to do whatever. The way that you get there is all these different things. Like I think whenever you play Hitman, you want to do all the things, and as you go through it, even whenever you sort of pick a lane that you're going to do, you can still overhear other options, and you'll be like, oh, that sounds like a cool thing. So that replayability, I think, is going to really play in its favor. And so, I mean, just the narrative playthrough is going to be longer than any of the Hitman games. And we know how many hundreds of hours we've gotten out of that. So, excuse me. So that makes me really optimistic about that. And then I was thinking about, so everybody says Uncharted, it's Uncharted meets Hitman. So looking at the Uncharted games. So if we looked at Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which is the first Uncharted game. Jay, how many? And Bear, did you play the Uncharted games by chance? Nathan Drake and that whole thing?
I don't think so. No, it doesn't ring a bell. No.
Okay. Jay, how long would you suspect that Uncharted Drake's Fortune was?
Well, I'm gonna throw myself on the limb on this one and say that I think the second one's way longer than the first one. So I'm gonna go 8 hours on the first one.
You're dead on. Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which is the first Uncharted game, was 7 to 9 hours. The second one was actually only 10 to 12 hours. The third one was 9 to 11 hours. The fourth one was 15 to 20 hours.
That fourth one was pretty epic.
yeah, that was what they at the time, that was their closer.
Yeah.
So they were going out with a bang. So even there, we're talking up to twice as large as 3 of the 4 main entries in the Uncharted series. As just a narrative. And again, Uncharted didn't have any variability whenever it's like, oh, I can get through by doing this or this. It's everything had one way of doing it. Every like the only sort of variation or exploration that you could do was to find collectibles or something like that. And then even one of our favorites, the Mass Effect trilogy. So looking at the first Mass Effect game, Mass Effect 1, which was obviously an RPG, to get through a playthrough of the main story of Mass Effect 1 was 17 to 20 hours.
Well, it was 650 for me, but okay, I'll take
Exactly. So whenever we kind of like take that and we apply that perspective on it, that 20 hours no longer sounds scary. It actually sounds pretty damn generous. Whenever I kind of put it against all these other things.
You brought up Hitman. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bear. You
I think of a lot of you see all these like different style of playthroughs on games like Hitman, where it's like the fastest way to get here, or you see like the Deadshot playthroughs where they're landing headshots all along the way. Yeah. That's a lot of fun, I think, because then you run into like speed runs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't speed run a lot of these newer games. So I like all the options that are there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just it. It's so like Hitman, even though there is a narrative, and as we've just seen, it's about half the narrative length of what 007 is going to be, if this 20 hours is in fact accurate, which I assume it is, given that it's the developers that gave it. But even if you take that, the narrative is only a small part of what you play Hitman for. You want to play the narrative, but then you want to play the missions, and you want to try to you replay them, and then you want to try to figure out, okay, other ways of doing things and accomplishing the same things, or try to get noticed by fewer people, try to be even better about it. You're going to do that, and then you're going to want to do the elusive targets, and then you're going to want to do stuff like what Bear was just talking about, where either people will create challenges or you'll just come up with challenges yourself. I've seen so many content creators where they'll put up basically a bounty for like either the fastest run, the fastest person to kill this random NPC, the craziest kill, all this stuff, and which is not even related at all to the narrative, but is obviously incredibly integral to your enjoyment of the game. So the narrative is only a small piece of the game. And as Jay had speculated months ago, whenever we had first started covering the game, and has essentially been covered in that last trailer that we reacted to, where they've got the training sort of arena where they're going to allow you to replay missions and play through different scenarios, where our suspicion is, again, as Jay had predicted, they'll probably take really famous missions or scenarios from previous movies and put them there. And so it's going to be outside of the narrative, but it'll still be new content that you'll be able to participate in and do it different ways, just like the elusive targets in Hitman.
And that's what I was going to say as well, because Hitman 3, you said, was the shortest of the 3 in the world of assassination, but it also had a ridiculous amount of extra content. We had that 7 Deadly Sins package, which that felt like that was 10 hours, 12 hours by itself.
And they're still putting out new content
for it. So anytime you add, and we already know content's coming to this game, And we've already been alluded to it, like you just mentioned, the challenges in that training arena thing, which basically jacking you into the matrix and letting you play out these missions. So, but yeah, man, I'm if when you first said it, it stung a little, and then it was gone just as quick as you said it. I was like, yeah, it's going to be perfect. That's going to be
It's
a
good.
perfect.
I think the pace of the game too. It's a slow pace game in most of the aspects. So like it's 20 hours, but that's going to be a slower pace 20 hours.
Or at least
You know what
at
I
least
mean?
part
Like,
of it. The narrative, like the linear narrative bits. I'm sure that's probably going to be pretty fast paced as far as like car chases, whatever. But then, like you said, once it opens up and you have the ability to do whatever, yeah, you can take your time, which is what I would do in Hitman. I would try to like walk around, blend in, try to find all of the different ways that I might be able to accomplish something, and then choose what way I wanted to do it. Then go about that. Yeah, and like Jay had mentioned, with your example of like, hey, what if we said 10 levels? I mean, I could easily spend 2 hours on a Hitman level just
Easy.
finding all the different ways, planning it out, and never get bored of it.
I got to tell you, I don't know. I can tell you a bunch of those missions where I loaded in and I didn't do anything. I literally walked around watching guard rotations, watching people bring food to stuff, watching everybody and not doing anything. Then I'd quit the mission and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I go back in there.
And you want the cool kills too.
Yeah.
You got to watch the rotations. You got to see like how's the programming in this game? What's this guy doing? You got to get the cool kills.
Yeah.
So that takes a while to get them set.
And see, that is one thing that I'm curious about. And of course, we're only a few weeks away. We will soon know how it all goes in 007 First Light. But that's one of the things that I'm curious about, because in Hitman, like we kind of talked about last week, in Hitman, the beginning and the end was always the same. You started, you entered the world, and you could pick different starting points or whatever. You could enter the world from different areas, but you walk into the world, and it would always end the same thing. You're supposed to kill this person, and then everything within that was completely up to you. There's so many different options available. Okay, to get to this person, do we want to pose as their housemaid and walk in on them while they're unsuspecting? Do we want to throw a toaster in their pool while they're relaxing? Do we want to kill them by dropping a piano on them or whatever? Whereas here it sounds like
in their pasta.
Yeah, which is definitely a thing that I have done on that game.
I love that. That was one of my favorite, because it was such a sneaky bastard move, because you had to bluff, you had to play a part, and it was excellent.
Well, and so I'm very curious. So that's one where it's like, again, like with Hitman, you have one mission and that's kill this guy, and then you have all this thing where you're like, okay, you can pick a path. Once you pick a path, then that path has different steps, and it's like, okay, so your big how do I get this done is where you get to make the choices. But here it sounds like it's going to be it's going to kind of be flipped, where you're going to have a lot more designated things where you're like, okay, you got to show up here, you got to make your way through this door, you've got to tail this person, and then you've got to get in this car. So it already has those stops mapped out for you, but then how you do those things is where it opens up, and so it's going to be interesting.
I'm really hoping that the difficulty levels are based on, and I know some of them are based on enemy strength and what you can do, because I know that people were talking about, hey, on easy, you can fight 10 guys and you can fight 3 or 4 guys on normal, and you can fight like 2 guys on hard. But I'm also hoping that the level of hand holding, in Hitman, once you start one of those initial moves, your handler chimes in and goes, hey, now that you've got this disguise, you can probably get in here. And I know with 007, we've already seen or heard either Moneypenny or M in his ear. And I'm hoping that if you decide to do like a harder difficulty, that just goes away and you have to improvise. Like, you're forced to make split-second decisions. Do I bluff? Do I just go in here, guns akimbo and go nuts, or what am I doing? Type of deal.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tougher if they're holding your hand through the whole game. I'm not a big fan of games that hold your hand the whole way.
Same, yeah, especially if it's one like this. especially it's one like this where like the whole like the juice of the game is going to be that improvisation, like Jay said.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's say you're playing like, which I hate it whenever it's a game where you're basically a detective, whether it's the Sherlock games or something like that. And it's like you find a clue and it's like, oh, well, this could mean that such and such, such and such. Like, who's the detective here? Like, get off my back. Let me figure it out, dude. Like, quit talking to me.
I do want to say that this earlier this week, I did watch an entire one of the levels from that 3-hour playthrough. And it was the one that ended with the garbage truck going down the alley, which I'm guessing is the third piece of that 3-hour bit. But, we made the joke about yellow paint and yellow tarps in our annoying mechanics video. Go watch that one. They've got blue tarps and blue paint on some of those things. And I'm like, oh, we've switched to blue now. Okay.
Well, that's one of those things where I'm like, I'm willing to do it. Like, while it is a thing where it's like you kind of look at it and you roll, at least it makes a little bit more sense within the context of a James Bond game. It's not, I mean, it can still be annoying, but it's not as blatant.
Yeah.
Where it really becomes blatant is something like Uncharted or Tomb Raider, where like, oh, I've stumbled upon this cave that has been completely undisturbed for, centuries. Oh, there's yellow paint on that cliff. I guess I can go there. Like, where did the yellow paint come from? Like, who put it there? If you're the first person that just showed up here in 400 years, how the fuck did the yellow paint get there?
Well, the old Indiana Jones games, when you'd be walking through the level and then something off to your side and it would glitter and go, ba-ding. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, I guess I should go over there.
Yeah, that stuff annoys me too, where you're like, you're like walking and you can yeah, it gets louder as you walk around. Like, oh, well, now I've got to find it just to shut this thing up. Like I just like let me just role play for a second here and pretend that I'm in this cave that hasn't been disturbed in forever, and I can't do that while Jingle Bells is playing in the corner.
I do have to say that while we were talking, I looked up my favorite 2 Bond games, which are GoldenEye and From Russia with Love, specifically From Russia with Love, because they brought back Sean Connery for that one. GoldenEye took 8 hours, and From Russia with Love was 10 hours. And I loved both of those games very, very much. So 20 hours is plenty enough.
Well, and this is something that we had talked about long ago, different studio long ago. And that was GTA. And it's just a rumor right now, but yeah, GTA 6 had been rumored to be 75 hours long. And that was like, well, that's a lot. That sounds like a lot of time. That's not one where you're like, that's not one where you initially think like, oh, really, that's it? That's one that sounds already impressive and then gets even more impressive whenever you line it up against its counterparts. How about Bear? Have you been a big GTA fan throughout your life?
I have, yeah. I was looking deep into how much I think the game's going to cost.
Fucking told you.
So, what was your favorite GTA game?
Oh gosh, I can't even tell you.
There's only one answer.
Which one do you think you spent the most time in?
Gosh, which one was released in 2014? Which one was the hot one in 2014? I can't remember.
That would have been Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay, so Grand Theft Auto 5, because that's when I had time to play.
Okay, well then follow-up question. How long would you guesstimate? I don't have access to your gamer account. I'm not gonna. This isn't a quiz, but how long would you guesstimate you spent playing GTA 5? Not the narrative, just playing it.
Just hanging out as a young buck.
Just doing whatever you wanted to do.
1,000 hours. I don't even know how to put 800, 1,000 hours, maybe.
You want to know what the main story hours was for GTA 5?
I do. I'm very curious now. How much time did I waste?
32 hours.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, GTA 5 was 32 hours. GTA 4 was 28 hours. San Andreas was 30 hours. Grand Theft Auto Vice City was 20 hours, and Grand Theft Auto 3 was 16.5 hours. And we all probably spent at least hundreds of hours in each of those. And then we have GTA 6, which is rumored to have 75 hours for the narrative. So it just gets even more impressive.
I bet I spent 300 hours in Vice City just cruising around to that soundtrack.
Yeah,
Just hanging out in the car.
That is without a doubt the best soundtrack. When you open a game with Billie Jean and I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight, dude, forget it. I don't even need a game. Just let me roll around and listen to music.
Well, and also then they also had Love Fist, which was a completely fictional band that had an actual discography, and I don't even know how many songs in that soundtrack, and they actually sounded great for the era.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have that, and so I guess one of the things I kind of want to talk about, given that we see that, so we first hear 20 hours and it sounds like I don't know, that might not be enough, but then we kind of compare it, we can kind of see like, okay, that actually could be twice as long as something like Hitman, and we've spent so much time in Hitman, so it becomes less scary. But I am curious, given this, I know that some people they write news articles about it and stuff like that, about how we need shorter games, we need more shorter games, we games are too long. Where do you guys fall on games being too long? Like Bear, where do you judge a game based on the length? Do you wish they were longer? Is there a too long, too short for you?
That one's tough because I mean, you can make a game really long with just a lot of walking around. And I can't stand that. If point A and point B are 100 yards away when they could be 20, just let me do the 20. Or like if you get killed you're in some big boss battle and you get killed and you got to run halfway across the map just to get back to the boss, that's a waste of time. I like that kind of stuff. I can't stand that kind of stuff. But if I were to give it a number, I would maybe say like 50, 60 hours. Because then I get to, if I want to jump around and play the campaign and just do straight through missions, that gives me enough time to sit and enjoy the game, make it last, talk to my friends long about it, get all the upgrades and all the cool, expensive stuff. It gives you enough time to do that and enough time to enjoy it before it gets old.
Mhm.
At the same time, yeah, like if I'm just walking around aimlessly, I'm very bored very quickly. So I guess like 20 hours for a game like this, where it's probably like, I don't want to say it's going to be hand holding. Like I don't think it will be, but it's going to be a little guided, but give you a little bit of open room. I think that's going to be a good mixture, and I think a 20-hour mark is a pretty good mixture there. So I kind of like where they're going with that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we've talked about before, like you said, where it's like, okay, do I need to walk 1.5 miles to get from point A to point B whenever it could have been 20 yards and just the same? Like, yep, that sucks. And as Jay and I have talked about before, that's where like some of these more recent Assassin's Creed games have failed, where yeah, map's huge, but there's nothing between points. There's no distractions, there's no reason for it to be this huge. Then you have things like Red Dead Redemption 2 or Witcher 3 or whatever, where even if point B is 20 yards away, you can't get from there to there without being distracted by like 4 other things that you could be doing.
Yards,
and I love that. I love that.
That's where I thought Black Flag was really good. If you're going from place to place and say you're on like the open ocean, if you're going place to place, there's a million things to do in between that.
Like there'd be the wreckage that would show up, or you'd see a whale like do the blowhole. You're like, oh, we could go over there and do 100%.
That. I gotta tell you, on my version of Black Flag, all the other ships are wreckage.
Just waiting to happen.
If I see a ship, it's going down.
That got me in
I don't want to get
trouble,
off by my crew for not being a good captain and not taking my prize.
So, and Jay, how about you? Do you have an upper ceiling where you're like, if it's beyond this, like, I don't even know if I want to invest in it, it's so big? Or is there something that's too small where you're like, it's not even worth my time to bother?
I'm going to give an anecdote that I learned a long time ago. And then it's basically been my driving thing for all this type of conversation. But applied for a promotion one time, and one of my professional mentors was looking at my resume, and he calls me into his office and he goes, "What's this?" And I go, "It's my resume." He goes, "It's 1 page, dude. You've had like 15 years of work experience." And I go, "Yeah, but I heard all the best resumes are 1 page." And he goes, "Take a seat." And he looks right at me and he says, "Let me tell you something. If it's a good read, it can be 10 pages, but it better be a good damn read." And I'm the same way with games. If it's 10 hours, but those 10 hours are great, I'm okay with that. If it's 50 hours and those 50 hours are great or allow me some freedom to move around, I'm okay with that. I'm not a big fast travel guy, so I'm kind of with you guys. Hey, if I can get there in 100 yards, that's great. I don't really like fast travel because it destroys your immersion. I really only use it if I pick up a new piece of gear and I want to get somewhere quick to fix it, to upgrade it.
You can't fast travel if you're over encumbered, Jay.
Yeah,
that's
especially
true.
since I got to carry so much soft leather. I mean, when you're carrying that much soft leather, you got to dump a bunch of shit before you.
And the crafting table's all the way over there. Yeah,
and the crafting table is way over there. Anyway, so yeah, that's my thing. If it makes sense, I don't care if it's 10 hours or 100 hours. I still remember playing Final Fantasy VIII on 4 discs on the PS1, and shit, that game was 85 hours long, man, easy. And especially since I was completionist, and so but it was a good story. It was a good thing. So that's my thing.
no,
If it's good,
think
I'll play it.
it sounds like all three of us are in agreement where it's like, I do not have an upper limit. I love long games. I love, like we've talked about before, if I am invested in a world, I don't want to leave that world. If I am really loving that game, I am more than happy to delay the end of it. I will play every side quest. I will try to take care of every question mark on the map. I love doing that. So if you can give me that kind of experience, whether it's The Witcher 3 or a JRPG like Persona, like, I will happily spend 300, 400, 500 hours before ever even rolling credits on it. But if you give me something that's 12 hours long and feels like it should have been 6, like that, that's boring to me. I don't want to deal with it. It's not worth my time.
Jay, how is Genesis on that, by the way?
Oh my God. So this was
Mason.
I was about to say, no, I had planned to talk about this because Jay has been poisoning the mind of Bear here all week long. And so I was like, we're definitely going to have to talk about it. And here it is, bubbling up before I ever even had a chance to bring it up.
Is it weird that I'm the only person on the show that wasn't going to bring it up tonight, even with a Star Wars discussion? So Genesis, and I'll just keep it brief, is exactly what you want it to be and how you want it to be. I told you guys, like, when you first log in and you create a new character, I would advise just picking who you want to be. It's all about who you want to be. A bounty hunter. Okay. You want to be a bounty hunter. Go drop off that first artifact just to get the ball rolling. Fly to Dantooine, join the Trackers Guild and become a bounty hunter. If you want to be a rebel, go to Dantooine, talk to Emma Wexley, get your rebel gear, go out and do this huge storyline that culminates in this fantastic Saw Gerrera endgame.
Well,
and if you want to be an Imperial, go straight to the Imperial recruiting station. Say, I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid. They'll send you down the steps. You'll go through orientation. You'll get your Stormtrooper gear and go out and be an Imperial and do that, which that culminates in a fantastic Grand Admiral Thrawn storyline.
Well, for the purposes of
Thrawn right behind me here, leading the Night Troopers. I got this collectible set. If you probably can't see it in this shot, but I'm a big fan of Thrawn.
Well, you'll end up with all the Thrawn gear at the end of the Imperial storyline. So yeah.
For the purposes of editing, I will go ahead and wrap up the 007 bit, and then we'll just move on into Genesis, and then we can expound on some of these things.
Great.
No need to put it in another hour. Clearly, you guys need to get this out of your system now. But so just to wrap up, as far as 007 goes, the 20 hours, I'm not scared by it. It sounds great. Sounds like we're all in agreement. As long as it's a good 20 hours, then who cares? And of course, obviously, all the additional content, whether it's going to be supported content where they're coming up with new missions and things like that from past movies, or just replayability, which is going to be high since it's IO interactive. I think that 20 hours is going to be a number that's there, but I think everybody that plays it is going to end up being 40, 60 at least.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Okay. Well, we'll wrap that up. So let's go into Genesis, because this is one thing I had wanted to bring up, because as I had said, you had been sowing the seeds like a Sith Lord to Bear here.
I did not start it.
But you started though with the PC. You found a door, and then you kept pushing, until that cracked open, and then he showed a little bit of malleability where it came to PCs, and then once you got that foothold in, you sunk the fangs in on Genesis.
It's hard when you see it. It's hard to do. How do you deny it? It's
It
hard
is,
to
yeah.
deny
When I saw
it.
the game, I've played. My son plays Battlefield all the time. I play Jedi Survivor quite a bit. Jedi Survivor is a little too like you can't really customize. It's not as open world as I wanted it to be. It gets a little boring from point A to point B, like we were just talking about. Genesis is basically all I was looking for, and Jay as a support system in this, and I think we should just all get really, really into the game. I don't know about you.
Well, I one of these days I want some Jesus PC that could run this thing like crazy. And I also, and God help me, I'm going to be part of the sales pitch on this one, because I did watch one of your streams where you were looking at some stuff on Genesis, and you were kind of looking into it and speculating as you were watching some of these things. And you had said something. I know Jay's going to jump out of his skin as soon as I say this to correct the record, but you said that you didn't think that you could play a Jedi, and I can ease your mind that you can. Jay, tell him all the different origins that one can have.
So, as far as backgrounds, first off, you can be pretty much any Star Wars race. As far as backgrounds go, they have bounty hunter, they have Imperial loyalist, they have smuggler, they have Jedi Purge survivor, where you were a Purge survivor. They have a denied Jedi background where you were deemed too old to begin your training, so you weren't allowed to be trained. They have inquisitorial survivor. They have inquisitorious as a Sith background, if you want to go that route. There are 4 hidden lightsabers in the game. When Russ and I did the walkthrough, I went and got one right off the bat during that walkthrough. But there's a Witches of Dathomir sub story that you can do where you end up with one of their lightsabers. And then there's a temple guardian on Tython who will teach you force powers, but you can also just kill him and take all the temple guard armor and the temple guard lightsaber. And then of course you have the Yuzan Vong and the Sith storyline that takes place on the EU version of the Sith world, which is Korriban.
Now, question here. So, and just to clarify for those listening, that Genesis is not it's not explicitly a game. It is a mod or a mod list. So it's taking Starfield, and then this guy Deity has built an entire game around. Typically, I think a lot of people, they hear a mod and they think like, oh, I can walk around like Master Chief in the game or something like that.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is a top to bottom, completely. I mean, not only is everything reskinned, but it's got an entirely different narrative, things like that. But you had mentioned, even in our little the introductory playthrough that we did on Twitch whenever we streamed, and we kind of made a new character and you walked us through that. You got the lightsaber. You'd mentioned that some of it though is it's the Starfield missions. Do you have to play a certain number of those Starfield missions before you can actually go in and get to the wholly original Genesis mission content?
Okay, it's funny you bring that up because now that has been updated where the main Starfield mission is now a Star Wars main story.
I like that.
But before that, I will tell you this. At the beginning of the game, no matter which starting place you do, that's another thing. There's like 5 or 6 starting locations. You're going to have an artifact in your possession. And which I found out later is part of the main Starfield main story. And you go to the lodge and you drop off that artifact. Now on Genesis, once you drop that off and you do that dialogue and get through it, you can go do whatever you want after that. You can go join the Imperials. You can go join the Rebels. You don't even have to take the artifact to the lodge. You can hold on to that thing for weeks before you decide to go start that and just go be a bounty hunter. They've added all these new mysterious strangers where you talk to them and then you end up on a wild goose chase through the galaxy with those guys, and
Just like college.
So
yeah, and then you also he's incorporated the Shadow Collective and Crimson Dawn. There's just random instances where you're just jumping from one system to the next, and you come out and you're in the middle of the shit in a
Just-
star battle.
So it's basically unlimited Star Wars fun, is what you're saying.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
and I would say choose your own adventure because it is, but it also definitely has its own narrative. It's just a matter of which ones do you play, and not for nothing, folks. If you end up watching this episode, you can be all of those things, which of course is completely inaccurate. You can do the Rebel storyline while you're doing the Imperial storyline while you're a bounty hunter. And it's like none of the other factions know that you're basically a triple agent at this point. So that is insane by itself. And I try not to do that because it can get confusing.
Interesting. So go out and get your copy of Genesis today. This is
Yeah,
not
well,
I wish.
paid ad.
get Starfield, and then Genesis is free if that were the case. Do you have any other questions as you look to start this new addiction of yours, Bear? Do you have any other questions for Jay so that he can get it out of his system and maybe we don't have to talk about it for a few weeks?
Wow. Again,
No.
for the record, folks, I did not bring it up tonight.
No, that's all. I'll begin my PC build as soon as possible. That's for sure. I was looking at some of the parts, and yeah, we might have to put a double mortgage down or something.
There are, by the way, because everybody, all the big companies know the bind right now with tariffs and prices. There are some
And just the memory shortage because of all the AI stuff.
There are some custom built gaming rigs. My buddy, one of my other buddies that recently built one, his buddy got one of the custom built, and it's a custom built as if he had done it himself build, and he got it for about $1,200, man. And it runs Genesis just fine.
You can,
And it doesn't take as much as people think it does, is what I'm saying, to run
just
it.
buy that Helix. Did you see the Helix thing going on? Xbox Helix.
The Xbox Helix, Project Helix.
Yeah.
No, I have not seen that. I'm sure somebody will bring that up, but it won't. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so I mean, you and I have talked about it before, Jay, but no official information has released
Oh,
about
that's
it yet.
right.
Right now, it's all speculation. But our concern around that, and I'm sure you probably will agree with us, Bear, and why not? We can talk a little bit about Xbox and Microsoft while we're at it, because there's plenty to talk about. But as far as Project Helix goes, my concern is that obviously we know that there was a recent leadership shakeup at Xbox. We all loved Uncle Phil, loved Phil Spencer, but it was pretty evident that, even though his heart was in it, I think he was meant to be one hell of a team player. I don't think he was cut out to be a team leader. And so I was sad to see him go, but I think it was a necessary change. And Sarah Bond, there's still rumors around that. I'm sure we'll get more about that later, but it seems like that was a good choice as well. But however, we are having a complete shift where it was the whole thing of, this is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. This is, so it's
Thank
like,
you,
oh,
God.
yeah, you can play Xbox here, and you don't even need to buy an actual Xbox machine. And it's like, well, then who's gonna buy one then? And then we have this new shakeup, and now we have Asha Sharma in the position of president of Xbox, and
Who started out strong.
yeah. And so my concern there is that, Jay and I have talked about it before. So yeah, we've got this leadership shift, but obviously these consoles aren't made in the process of 3 to 6 months. This is years and years and years of development. And so, yeah, okay, now they're saying, oh, we are Xbox. They changed. It's no longer this is an Xbox. It's we are Xbox, which is great. Yeah, drive people to actually buy your machine, but it's too late to change your approach. Like, the machine that you developed was already developed under whatever sort of goals, objectives, pretense of the previous leadership. So they can't just completely swap around and now they have this thing. It's going to be whatever they're working on before. And it seems like it's going to, it's going to be a hybrid so that you can play essentially your cross library between your Xbox and your Steam and your Epic Game Store and all of that. But the thing there is that it's not going to be something that plays all of those. So even the Steam games, the games that are PC exclusive that don't have console releases, theoretically you could play them on this machine, but obviously it's still a console. So it's going to be more expensive than say like whatever the next PlayStation is going to be, but it will be less powerful than a top line PC. So even the PC games that you do play, it's not going to be on like ultra settings. So it's going to be a higher price console that will play PC games less well, and then still have console games, and exclusivity has been forfeited already, though they're trying to pull that back a little bit. So it's just a matter of like, where's the win here? Like what's compelling me to buy this thing?
I'll tell you, and I don't think it's going to be aimed towards the person that wants to purchase this device. I think this is aimed towards parents who don't want the daunting task of having a PC built for their kid and want the easy way out. And then their kid's just going to be upset. Because now, I mean, I'm starting to even hear it at work with some of the people that work for me. Their kids are like, man, my kid doesn't even want to play his PlayStation anymore. He wants a PC. And he's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Where do I even start? And I'm like, well, this ain't the forum, buddy. We got work to do. This ain't the forum for it. But talk to me after work and we can figure it out. But I really don't think this is aimed towards. This is a myth box, dude. That's what it is.
Yeah, and obviously, Bear, you brought it.
To medium.
Yeah, and Bear, you brought it up. So obviously, and I've seen some of your videos. You've got some strong opinions. So what are your thoughts on Helix? What we've known, again, nothing's confirmed, we should say, but based off the rumors and what we've heard, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on most of my points there. Like, I guess what are we doing here? Because the price point's going to be huge, which is kind of across the board right now. So the price is going to be huge. The quality is going to be down. And okay, I get it. You can play Xbox games and you can play PC games. But where's the real draw on that if the PC games don't really run right? Because if you look at what they're projecting for the Helix, if you just look at it and then compare that to even like not a base PC, but like a mid-level kind of deal on the PC platform, what's even the point? Like, you can just tell visibly that it's not going to run as efficient as even like a base model PC. And that's kind of my point there. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this has not been walked back by the current Xbox leadership as far as exclusivity goes. So far, exclusivity doesn't exist. Xbox games are on PC as well, and even appearing on PlayStation. So like Bear said, if it's not going to play PC games any better than a more entry-level gaming PC, especially if a gaming PC is just another $100, $200, maybe $300 more, then what's to keep somebody from just going that route, especially if you no longer have exclusives to say like, okay, well, maybe we can't play the PC games as well as, an actual dedicated gaming PC, but we have these exclusive Xbox games that you can only play on this console because those don't exist. You'll be able to play them on PC and even PlayStation. So what's the sales pitch to get somebody to stay? I mean, I know that you're saying that lazy parents, but I don't think that's enough to make a profit.
And here's the other piece too that people aren't bringing up, and you wouldn't unless you've been playing on PC for a while. Are we going to have access to folders on the hard drives? Because one of the big draws, I hate to say it, we just went over a great example of it, is mods. And some of those mods do not install easy. Genesis is one of them. It's gotten a lot easier, but there used to be a lot of copy and paste and cut and paste and move this folder to that and extract this to here. And if we don't have access to the hard drive folders, and I'm betting we won't,
same
on this thing, then we're stuck. The people are stuck with canned mods. For anybody that doesn't know, those are mods like on Steam Workshop where you just hit subscribe and it installs it, but it might fuck up because you don't get to change your load order or whatever, or Bethesda games where you go into creations and you download a mod and pray to God it works, because you can't mess with it after that. So
yeah,
anyway,
I kind of run into that in No Man's Sky. Like, I made the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't notice I got the Millennium Falcon shirt going on here, but I made
Yeah,
the
I was going
Millennium
to tell you, make
Falcon
sure
and
you send me a link to that shirt before we get
I
off
got
here
you.
tonight.
Yeah, it's on the way. Don't worry about that. But I was building this, and every example I looked at, it was like, oh, you need these mods. It's only done on PC. So if I have an Xbox, and then I can go out and buy a PC, if they're not going to combine the two in a full fashion,
There you
I
go.
don't see
There it
like
is.
really any. And then I also saw that they said they were selling just like the chip pack. So basically, they're selling it to third-party entities who are going to build their own. So basically, we're just building a PC, and you're just selling like a PC part, right? Like an install.
And,
Yeah,
and
but
so,
it's going to be, I think it's going to be locked down. It's going to be a lockbox.
oh, for sure. Which is so twofold there. One, as far as the kit goes, where it's like, hey, here's our approved hardware or our improved firmware and all this stuff. And then you just kind of make your box, put this in it. Sorry, Steam tried that before with the Steam box and all that, where they were going to do it themselves, and then it ended up being, well, actually, you can buy it from any of these three manufacturers, and it just didn't turn into anything because if you don't control it yourself, it just goes haywire. Same thing with like third party controllers. Xbox would do the thing where it's like, oh, only approved third party controller manufacturers. Mad Catz was one of those. It still sucked. Like that's just not a way to do it. And then as far as like Jay was saying, like I think it's going to be locked down for sure because they don't their whole thing, and they've already said that it's again according to the leaks, can't confirm anything, but according to the leaks, it's going to be basically a modified Windows. I mean, it's already modified Windows, but more open, but still modified version of Windows that it would be running. But obviously, I think they're going to restrict. They're not going to allow mods or anything like that because they don't want to allow in anything that they cannot control. Because if you do a mod and now their machine can't handle it and it just borks the performance for everything that's on it, they don't want to have any responsibility for that.
I was going to say it's a liability concern at best. And this
Yeah.
is where another piece of my lazy parent thing is because, you get one of these for a kid and they go to school the next morning and they're like, hey, I got me a PC now. Big air quotes. And they're like, hey, you need this mod for Grand Theft Auto. And they go home and they download this thing and now they don't know what they're doing and they screw up and they brick their shit. Now their parents are pissed and there's a liability situation. And yeah, man, there's no
The
way
red
this
ring of
thing's gonna
death all
come-
over again.
Yeah, there's no way this
Yeah.
thing's coming jailbroke. There's just no way.
Well, and we were just talking about how you don't hear about that anymore, about a jailbroken PlayStation or anything like that. But
Right.
if Microsoft releases this Xbox and then it's locked
Yeah.
down to that degree, I bet we're going to start hearing about jailbroken Xboxes.
Well, we'll see billboards in town down near any of the pawn shops where people are going to be like, we jailbreak Xbox Helixes, So anyway,
I think we'll see a lot of places that are going to want to, if they do just sell this and distribute it for people to make their own versions of it. I mean, I think I watched a video not too long ago of a guy making his own Steam box out of like spare old parts. I think that's what he was making. So if they're just going to distribute this stuff as if it's like a PC part, I mean, yeah, I'm glad to hear that they're reeling it back in.
So here's a question for you guys. So again, given what we know, nothing's confirmed, but what we're hearing so far with the rumors and what we believe it to be and the way that it's been kind of reported to work, and given that we know again that you can't just completely 180 just because of leadership change and completely change the direction that you're going on a box that you've been developing for years at this point, and obviously you can't delay it because then you fall behind PlayStation and then you're there's no point. So is there anything if let's just assume that all of the rumors that we've heard, all the things that we've just discussed are true? It's going to be more expensive. It's going to be locked down. It will play PC games, but not as well. Xbox games still won't be exclusive. All of these things that are hindrances. Is there a way, if you were in charge of things, you got to have the new position as the head of Xbox, is there anything that either of you could think of that could potentially save this thing or make it a decent value proposition?
no, I think it should be canceled. There's no, I mean, other than not doing the things you just said, There's no way. I mean, you're putting out a box that's going to run low to medium settings for all games, and so their best bet is playing 3 to 5 year old games on this thing than trying to play like Cyberpunk. Dude, Cyberpunk is like a benchmark for PC games even now. I mean, that's one of the ways you benchmark your system is open Cyberpunk and run the benchmark thing that's inside of the game. And it'll tell you flat out if your rig sucks. So yeah, I don't think there's a way to salvage this thing, man. And to Bear's point, just spend the extra $300 and get a freaking actual PC. And the other piece is people don't need as much as they think they need to run what they need to run at high to ultra settings. So you don't need a Threadripper and a, RTX freaking 5900. Threadripper is a real CPU, by the way, but I mean, you can basically power the International Space Station with it. You don't need all that. So that's my thing. And that's my 2 cents, man. Cancel this thing and spend the extra $200, $300 and get a PC and do it right.
How about you, Bear? Congratulations. You just got promoted to head of Xbox. Can you sell this thing?
Okay, so I agree.
Well, I guess I'm looking for a new job.
Yeah, you're fired. I didn't like your ideas, Jay. Moving
obviously.
on. Yeah.
Quite the promotion.
You just
there,
got
thank
Sarah
you.
bonded here, okay?
Promoted to customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Jay. Like, I'd probably scrap it. Or the only way that I could kind of see this pulling away in a positive, if you make it kind of like an exclusive and then make it with PC qualities and capabilities of a mid to high tier PC. So, you know how I think it's what PlayStation puts out all these different levels with different price points and stuff.
Yeah, they'll have the entry, then they'll have the Pro, and then after a while they'll have the Slim, which is the original, but it's in a slimmer form factor, and so it's basically repackaging the original, but it's quieter and it's thinner.
Yeah, and then you start sell every console has a different kind of charger, so you got to buy charger, new controller, all that good stuff.
Yeah, love that.
Oh yeah, always love
Good
that
time.
iPhone. I think if you made like a superior version and then just put out kind of lower levels, maybe. Definitely don't third party it. Like that, just all exclusivity is just out the window at that point. Then you're just selling PC parts, in my opinion. I think if you made it a super like high price point, but also give a lower price point somewhere in the middle, maybe that could work, maybe. But also like just buy a PC at that point still.
True, but I mean, but again, if you're Xbox, your whole thing is. You're trying to talk people out of that PC. So it's always an option, but you're going to try to hide that option as much as possible. But that is something that I hadn't thought of, like you said, where it's just like, instead, you're like, okay, well, these are the hands we're dealt. Instead of trying to figure out what compromises we can make, we can't turn back now. We've gone this far. Instead of trying to pull things back, screw it. Let's hit the gas. Let's just soup it up even more. Yeah, it'll have a higher price tag, but we can say like, okay, yeah, there's a higher price tag, but look at what all you're going to be able to do with it. That's one thing where it's just like, it can't hurt you anymore. So yeah, just foot on the gas and let's just soup this thing up.
Maybe.
And listen, I'm not trying to salvage my job here at Microsoft. I'm already got my cardboard box, but I'm back on my phone at my desk as my last practice and say, you could take the Spaceballs out and just say, we're going to call this thing Xbox, the PC. And just make it a PC, man. Just come out with your own PC.
I was going to say, maybe have consoles, standard Xbox consoles, right? Like make the next generation of consoles for Xbox. And at your peak top level of that line, this one can also access some PC games, but it's going to be a hefty price. That might work. That could be an option.
Yeah, see, the only thing that I had thought of that could potentially work, but I don't think that Xbox is capable of it because they have not proven themselves to be. In fact, they've proven the exact opposite. And that is go ahead and pull back on exclusives. Go to the CEO of Microsoft and say, no more, like we can't do this thing where exclusives are going everywhere, or because they're not exclusives, right? We can't just have Xbox games on sale on PlayStation. We can't have them on PC. We have to say this is an Xbox console exclusive game and have that be a system seller. We got to try to get Halo again and those kinds of things. But that's where they have not proven themselves to be capable of doing that because they had so many chances. They had Xbox console exclusives, and like so many of them got canceled. So many development studios got shut down, and then what did get released wasn't great. We had Sea of Thieves, which is fun now. It wasn't fun when it came out. Talking about something where it's like, hey, why do we have to go 100 yards whenever we could have just gone 20 feet whenever there's nothing between A and B? That was, why do we have to go halfway across the seven seas whenever we could have just walked across the island because there's nothing there? The only thing that I think, if you're this far into it, that could try to do it is to get some compelling exclusives, but I don't think Xbox has proven themselves capable of compelling exclusives, which is really crazy, especially considering that they bought Bethesda, they bought Blizzard, all of these companies that were previously third-party behemoths, and even stuff that they already had in development, and they still can't get a decent exclusive out of them.
Plus, how are they going to explain when a game that people have been waiting on forever, the Fable remake, when on launch day, guess what? It only runs at medium settings on our new Xbox Helix. So now you're playing a Mr. Potato Head version of Fable instead of that beautiful game that we showcased a bunch of episodes ago. So it just makes you wonder, man.
Yeah, so I think we're all in agreement that the Xbox Helix, based on everything that we've heard so far, yeah, I don't like its chances. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be the thing where Xbox has already been on death's door throughout this entire console generation, trying to fight from behind, and they've made so many wrong choices. Even if they made every right choice going forward, I think the development that they've already put behind this that they can't undo. I don't think that there's any way that they pull out of this one. The only thing that they can try to do is probably what they're attempting to do, and that is try to shift themselves out of the console war. Like, so that was what they were doing before this leadership change. Again, we have no idea what the current leadership's opinion is, but it was pretty clear that what they were trying to do is stop competing on a console level with PlayStation and start competing on an entry-level gaming PC with things like Starforge or Meta PCs or something like that, where you can get your pre-built gaming PCs online and start competing with those people rather than like PlayStation.
Well, and I think another thing you got to look at that could be, so when you open Steam and you pull up any game on the Steam store, it'll let you know if it's Steam Deck verified, right? So that you can play it on Steam Deck. How embarrassing is it going to be when they lump that in with the Helix and the category is now Steam Deck and Xbox Helix verified? Wait, so you're telling me this big ass box I just overpaid for can run a game that a handheld can run from Steam?
My guess is they'll probably have a custom Steam page where it will only it'll just show you games that are compatible with the Helix. It won't show you any that the Helix can't handle, and it won't tell you that it can be handled by a handheld for those that it is showing. It's just going to be like, this is available to you, like going to the store right now. I think they're going to go out of their way to try to hide its weaknesses as much as possible. It's not going to help. Like people are gonna know. We're gamers, we're nerds. Right. We understand this stuff, but they're gonna try because they've really got no other options.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that was we did not expect to get in, but I enjoy talking about some of this stuff. So, anyways, Jay, before we move into some of this other thing, do you have any gaming stuff that you wanted to jump in? I know that you had a few things that you were looking at.
Well, just really quick. One of them was obviously we had May the 4th this week, which was Star Wars Day and Revenge of the 5th and Order 66th on Wednesday or whatever. So I took the time to actually dig in and play some retro Star Wars games. And no, before anybody even asks, Genesis is not on that list because it officially is not a Star Wars game.
And you play it all the time anyway. There's no.
And I play it all the time anyway. So,
okay, sorry guys, Jay's dying.
Wow, I almost died right there. You don't even know. So I pulled up my favorite Star Wars games on Steam, and we're talking retros. We're talking Force Unleashed 2, KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, and a little game that came out in 1999 called X-Wing Alliance, which basically took the X-Wing, the TIE Fighter, and the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game and put it all together in this awesome story. But boys, it was 1999. And
Did your party like it?
MIDI music, not great graphics, but there is a team out there at xwingallianceupgrade.com that have brought that game forward to 2025 graphical standards. They deleted all the MIDI music. They created HD cinematics. The in-game graphics and weapons gameplay from the ships is phenomenal. It looks incredible. So I played a little bit of that. Then I got on KOTOR, and I spent a whole evening moving folders back and forth and copying and deleting shit and turning KOTOR into a game that you would gladly play tonight. And
I'd gladly
KOTOR
play
1
the
and
original
2.
tonight.
Yeah, and on a tablet, they still look great. And from what I heard, the Switch, they look good.
And they're
On
cheap.
a PC, they do not. You have to do some serious work to make it look good on PC. So then I thought, what about Force Unleashed? Because its PC launch was horrid, both of them. Crashes, anything outside of Windows 8. So I had to edit both executables so that they would run in Windows 8 compatibility mode, and then download a boatload of mods to get widescreen support and 4K, and got to play both, not to their entirety, of course, but got to play them both in 4K. And man, we talk about how the games we remember looked photorealistic when we played them, and then we go back and look at them and we're like, oh,
Like, ugh.
yeah. So conversely, another of my favorite Star Wars games of all time is Shadows of the Empire. I don't know if you guys remember that. It tells the story of the year that Han Solo was frozen in carbonite and what the other guys did to make a plan to get in and bust him out of Jabba's palace. It was released on the Nintendo 64 in, I want to say, 1996 or 7. It was a fantastic game. It has no mods and it looks awful in 2026. And I couldn't bear it. So that was not a pleasant experience whatsoever. But I just want to say, man, I had a good time digging back into, especially to Starkiller. Everybody wants to see him in live action. So, I don't know where your all's thoughts are on the retro games, but,
I mean, I don't have any extensive thoughts on them. I'm for them. I think obviously preservation is good, and it's always good to keep those around, and backwards compatibility as console generations go on. I think that's important. So yeah, always down to have those kinds of things, and I value it. I don't do a lot of it often,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to have. How about you, Bear?
Jay, did you ever play that Star Wars Bounty Hunter game by chance?
Yeah.
I did. I played it on the Nintendo, man.
I remember I had to rage quit and never picked up the game again when you were getting attacked by the zombies and you had the flamethrower. That brought back a crazy memory of that game. But what is it? Star Fox? They're doing like a resync kind of deal.
Yeah.
I think that looks pretty cool. My only question is, why aren't we making new games? With the guys that make these legendary games, studios that make these legendary games that today people are still obsessed with. You got people whose rooms are covered in stuff like Star Fox. Why aren't we just making new ones that could eclipse it? I've noticed a trend lately, and I don't mind the resync, like with Assassin's Creed. Like, I don't mind it for sure, but can we get also on top of that a new game, and maybe not one like Hexe? Because my personal opinion on the Hexe idea is I don't like it, but I like the resync. So maybe I'm just kind of talking in circles and contradicting myself here. I don't know.
No. I think these are all things that, like, we've talked about this a little bit before, where it's like, and I think it might have been just last week, but we kind of talked a little bit about how whenever it comes to, like, let's start with the first thing, making new things, where it's like there is a bit of a difference between games and movies, where, like, let's say the movie The Thing still holds up. They use practical effects. still great, still looks phenomenal, still a blast. And when they try to remake that, people are like, why do we need to do that? We already have the thing, and it's great. And I agree with that. But it's not the same way with video games, because these older games, they do have these limitations, and it does hold them back. There's memory limitations. They can only populate so many NPCs at a time, things like that. Things that we didn't see when we played, because that was the top of the line. That was what we had. Like Jay said, we look back at it and it's rose-colored glasses. It was like VR for us. We were like walking around and we look back on it. We're like, oh man, that looks kind of scuffed. But it's so it's multifaceted. I do see the value in remaking games for a generation of people, like kids, younger people that might not play that game if it were not sort of brought up to modern capabilities. And the other thing there and I think this is the bigger one, and there's sometimes where I'm like, why are you remaking this game? We don't need to do this again. But there are some, like Resynced, like you mentioned, like Black Flag Resynced, where I'm in support of it. And it's sad that this is the reason, but it's because I don't have faith in the developer. I would love for them to have more of these pirate games, for example, for Assassin's Creed. I don't trust them to make new ones. They already tried that. It was called Skull and Bones, and it was an absolute disaster. So I don't trust them to do it. So I want you to prove to me that you can make the thing that I love, that made me fall in love with that idea. And if you do that and you sell me on that, so now I get to relive this thing in a more complete and immersive way than I did before. You have a whole new generation of people that are going to play it. If you can sell this on everybody, great. Make more games. I trust you now. But that's a big one, is like, I don't want you to go off and make new games until I actually trust that you'll do it right. I don't want some random fly-by-night developer to just start and say like, hey, by the way, we're making Knights of the Old Republic 3. Like, I don't know if you're capable of doing that. Like, how about you give me something that I'm familiar with, that I can sort of like, that I know how it was before. Give me something over here. Let me know how you can do there, and then maybe I'll trust you to go off a little bit more. Or you'll have something like Larian, where they say, hey, we want to do D&D, and Wizards of the Coast says, well, you can't have D&D. We're not going to give it to you. So they go and they do something original, but still in the D&D thing, where they say, okay, we're doing Divinity Original Sin. They did Divinity Original Sin 2, and then Wizards of the Coast was basically begging them to make a D&D game. So I don't know. It's kind of multifaceted. So I don't get nearly as offended by remakes of games as I do remakes of movies and TV shows, but I do still think there are situations where it shouldn't be done in games.
And I think there's a lot of new things coming out, but I think it's overshadowed by remakes, because if we keep asking for them, they're going to keep making them ever since the first remake was ever done. And you've already got people wondering which Assassin's Creed game's getting remade next. Not, to your point, Mason, not what is the new Assassin's Creed game? What's the next one you're remaking? Because that's the only thing I'm going to trust you with until you show me otherwise. Exactly what you said.
And to Bear's point, as far as Hex, like, let's go ahead and talk about Hex for a second, because
please, because I have no idea. I've made sure not to
do
read
we have
it.
to?
Yeah, well,
I've not read anything on it.
This is one that I brought to you before, Jay. We talked about it before. This is the one where it's based in the Salem witch trials. Yeah, as usual. But it's based in the Salem witch trials, and
yes, that's right.
Which is cool.
You hadn't reminded me.
I like, that's one of those things where it's like, hey man, this seems like it would be ripe for a narrative, and then it's like, okay, so you're going to be a woman. Okay, I got no problem with that, and that can certainly play into the whole
for that narrative.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the whole thing. There's this witch scare, so I'm like, okay, I'm on board. Then it's like, okay, well, now we're gonna do this stuff, and you're gonna play on the fears and manipulate people through illusion and this and that. And I'm like, that's fucking Batman. That's not That's not Assassin's. Talk to me. Yeah, swear to me. Like the whole thing about Assassin's Creed is they're not supposed to know you're there. Like you're an assassin, you're not supposed to be known. They're supposed to be like, just hanging out, and the last thing they see is, the fucking rice bowl or whatever at their feet, right?
I mean, what are they going to be doing? Like they're going to be, blowing voodoo powder on everybody, and then they're like, "Whoa!"
And so that's the thing. Not only have we had musical gaming chairs of game directors now with Project Hexe. But we've also had now the thing that just came out in the last week was that they are taking out all of the magical elements. So that's like two things. One, good. I'm glad to hear it. But two, why were they there in the first place? What were we doing? Why did we have magic in an Assassin's Creed game? Especially on the Salem witch trials, which the whole point is that witches aren't real.
Well, probably because somebody in the room had played Hogwarts Legacy the following earlier that week, and they're like, "Hey, let's put magic in our game."
Exactly. That's such a weird direction. They were, I think they should have just made a Hogwarts game after. That's a weird direction for them to take.
It's like, you know what? If you can do magic, maybe they should have been burning people. Like, what is like the whole point of the Salem witch trials is like look at the hysteria that people have gotten into to the point that they were murdering innocent people because they thought they're witches, and then somebody at Ubisoft was like, what if you played a witch, though? Like, well, that just confirms all of the fears of the people that we're supposed to be hating in this game. Like, you are a witch.
I lost so many brothers and sisters in left-handedness during that time that it's a tough time for me as a left-hander. So, I definitely don't need the added pressure of, hey, these people are doing magic.
Yeah, what were you saying, Bear?
I was just saying I'm going to be on the side of the people hunting the witches at that point if they're actually witches.
Yeah, because it's like the whole thing is like, okay, we're supposed to hate these mobs because they are taking out this paranoia on these innocent people. And so Ubisoft's plan was, now supposedly backtracking, was to be like, okay, well, obviously we hate these people. How dare they? So we need to combat them with witches. And it's like, okay, so you're confirming their fear. Like you are fueling what they are afraid of. It makes no sense. And like you and I have talked about, Jay, where it's like, what do we need to do? What can we do to save Assassin's Creed?
Well,
and this is another. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and I'm probably alluding to the exact same thing you're about to bring up, at least parallel, is we've said, they pigeonholed themselves into this Templar assassin thing. So when you're talking about Salem, the witch hunters, they have to be Templars because of the religious connection. You can't make them on the other side of the coin. Simply based on Christianity, they have to be the Templars.
And we have this thing where, and not only have they gotten further and further away in recent games with the Templars, so it feels more and more forced in whenever they do bring the Templars in, but it's one of those things where, like we had talked about, as we go on, and whenever we kind of talked about what we would want to do if we were going to try to save it, and again, this is one of the reasons that I'm also kind of excited to get back to Black Flag, because I think perhaps this could be more than just more pirate games. I think it could be a bit of a proving ground for a change in the winds, as it were, for Assassin's Creed. But we kind of talked about how thank you. We kind of talked about how there was, we kind of talked before about how there was like this, the story went off the rails. I mean, it started off with a hidden technology. And as you and I both said, I think that's super cool. I think it's cool that like this thing that these people have been kind of competing about was a secret knowledge or, forbidden knowledge, secret technology. I think that's cool, but that's about as far sci-fi as I would go with it. I think whenever we start getting into precursor races and all of this stuff and the apples of Eden, we're getting way out there.
Well,
and then they kill Desmond so that the world doesn't blow up. Okay, well, where do we go now? And now it's just like they're kind of wandering aimlessly, and it's so unfocused. There's no real narrative. And so now instead of being each game is self-contained, but also contributing to this overall narrative, now it's like there's no overall narrative anymore. It's just each game is each game. It's standalone, and then whatever's happening in the modern day is fucking weird, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't play together. And it's like we just need to scrap it. And so the thing that I would like to see with Black Flag, especially now that we're going to make essentially removing the modern content, where it's still going to kind of be there, but it's not going to force you to do it. If you want to, you're going to have to go through the menus, do it that way. But for all intents and purposes, it's gone. You don't have to ever look at a single frame of modern day content in Black Flag Resynced. And if we do this game and we do it right, and hopefully my fears are alleviated whenever we play it. But if we do this, I'm hoping that will kind of, like we're hoping with Hollywood on some of these things. Whenever a movie comes out, they're like, look, this is all we need right here. We don't need to do all this BS. I'm hoping that maybe Resynced can kind of show them like this is what people respond to still, because we're simple creatures. We're gamers. What we like doesn't really change, like we still want the same things. And so if they could do that, hopefully that can kind of just sort of like have them redirect Assassin's Creed as a whole more in that directions. Whether we just say like, hey, let's not even worry about this overarching insanity, or if they just reboot it entirely and say, you know what? We remade Black Flag. It was a success. Let's remake the first game, but it's not just a resynced. We're rebooting the series.
Well, one of my things was that they broke they made the classic movie sin of revealing too much of your MacGuffin. The reason a MacGuffin is because they want the audience to know it was the journey getting there. We don't really need to know every single thing about whatever the case or the device and to your point, they did in the first few games, it was always, hey, it's there. They did kind of get a little bit crazy in Syndicate and Unity as far as revealing a lot more about it with the gods and goddesses and all that. They went too far. You didn't need to reveal all that. The other thing that I think they've got a perfect vehicle for, and this is just an idea, run a bifurcated story. If you're doing the Salem witch hunt, let us do a whole separate campaign as the witch hunter, a Templar, or let you play the witch as the assassin.
To the Assassin's Creed 3 treatment.
Have two separate games, man. Let us decide which one we want to play or not play, or play both. And it can work. Hell, we saw that with the original Resident Evil 2. That was still, to me, one of the most well-designed campaigns of all time, is playing both sides of the coin in Resident Evil 2. So I really think it could work that way. And to me, I'd rather play in that situation, I'd rather play the Witch Hunter. I'll be honest with you.
I think
because it sounds like a whole load of horse shit on the other side.
I think to save the franchise, they just need to go all in and do a Assassin's Creed, but in the universe of Star Wars. Hear me out on this. Just
obviously, I'm in.
Maybe.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I would like to see them shift into a different thing, because, like I said, and it's not just Assassin's Creed. It's a lot of games where they've gotten further and further away from the things that people loved. Like Assassin's Creed is obviously a very easy, very visible target, because they've just gone further and further and further away. And Black Flag is one of the last threads before they really just went off the rails. So I would hope that something like this can kind of steer us back further in that direction. But same thing with all the games, where it's like Gears of War. They're doing another Gears of War game, and it's essentially going to be E-Day. Where it's a prequel where you play you're going to be playing a young Marcus Phoenix, because they've gotten away from Marcus Phoenix. It's like this is one we've talked about it before. There's some franchises where you can get away with that, where the franchise is the setting or something like that. And there's some franchises where no, you've got to be. It's like Uncharted. Like, no, they were talking about doing Uncharted spinoff with one of the other characters. Like, no. You got to be Nathan Drake. If you're not Nathan Drake, it's not Uncharted.
Well,
If you're not
I
Marcus
think back
Phoenix,
to-
it's not Gears of War.
I think back to Halo 3 ODST, and I don't know if you guys remember the pre-hype around that game, but people were pissed. They were like, I cannot believe you're putting out a Halo game where I'm not Master Chief. What the F are you doing? Luckily, it ended up being one of the best games in the franchise and had an all-star cast to boot for voiceover. But still, there were still quite a few people that couldn't believe that I'm not playing. Not only am I not playing a Spartan, I'm playing a regular human being. I'm also not Master Chief.
See, and that comes down to some discipline on marketing, where it's like, I know people are like, "Oh, but Halo's the selling point. It's got to say Halo real big, and then everything else comes after that." But it's like, no, it needs to be like Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Okay, nobody's expecting Star Wars Episode 12. Like, nobody's expecting some grand, space opera. We know it's going to be a small, contained story because,
and that was a genius move.
Yeah, so if it was like ODST, a Halo story, something as simple as the way you position the title can completely flip the audience's expectations, and whenever you better control expectations, you have a much better result. From even if people don't like it, they're going to be less upset because they don't feel like you completely derailed the entire franchise. They'd be like, okay, I didn't enjoy playing with these people, but that's fine. They didn't screw up Halo as a whole.
Subconsciously, you're actually, from a marketing standpoint, giving them a choice. Because when you post it as Halo ODST, they're like, shit, I've played all the Halos. I have to play this one. If you position it as ODST, a Halo story, they're like, oh, it's just a little side story, so I don't need to play this one. It's not actually called Halo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's weird. Yeah, it's a psychosemantic thing, to be sure, but still, I think you're right. I think the marketing says it all. But again, like Uncharted, there's a lot of games out there you cannot replace the main character. You just cannot do it and get away with it.
Now, what are you saying, Bear?
I was just going to say it also kind of draws a wider audience. So like you were saying, to your point, it's if the Halo players will have to, for your example, the Halo players have to play it, but it might catch the eye of someone who doesn't really play Halo, and now they like Halo. So that like grips a wider audience as well.
And see, that's one way where you can you can cater to a wider audience, which this is what gets so many games in trouble, is they're like, okay, we've built up this player base, but we want this wider audience. We want to attract these people that we don't have before. And so they change whatever it is that attracted your current audience to the game to try to get more people to come in, and you end up abandoning more players than you ever attract. But if you do something like this, where it's like, okay, we're not changing what you love. We're not changing our games. Like, the story is still there, but we are doing a spin-off thing, and make that one more accessible to people. Let that be an entryway for those that aren't the main line didn't attract, and then also the really dedicated fans that you already have, even if it's a change of pace or something different from what they do play. There's going to be the lore hounds and the people that just love it. They're going to give it a try anyway. So I think, doing stuff like that is a far safer thing to do than to just try to pivot your entire series. And to kind of like tie this back into Assassin's Creed, what they could do, instead of like doing these mainline entries into Assassin's Creed and trying to find some way to tie them into this modern setting and all this stuff, just say, hey, and this isn't Assassin's Creed 4 or this or that. It's like, hey, let's just do these self-contained. And again, this is Resynced is going to be their first kind of attempt at this, where the modern day story doesn't need to exist. So, hey, have an Assassin's Creed game where it just goes in and, hey, maybe your guy, again, Black Flag 4, you guys not even an assassin. Just do something here where, okay, it's disconnected. Your guy's not an assassin. There's no modern story component. We don't have somebody jumping into an animus that's, trying to tap into an ancestor or something like that. This is just a standalone story that's set in the same universe as Assassin's Creed, but they're not an assassin. They're not a Templar. These factions exist, but they're just doing their own thing, and do these little bite-sized things, and that allows you to do more variations in combat approaches, things like that, because people aren't going to expect the hidden blade and all these things. You don't need to have to be a quiet assassin because your guy's not an assassin. You can go in loud. You can do this crazy stuff. I don't know. I think they could utilize that, and maybe Black Flag will be something kind of like ease them in that direction.
Yeah,
You're muted,
that's a good
Jay.
point. Just little subset kind of games.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying I agree. And we've beat this to death, and I really hope it's good, and I'm looking forward to it. And obviously, I'm going to be concerned right up to the second that I get about an hour into it. And if my concerns hold, then yeah, I mean, I'll be like, hey guys, this wasn't what we expected again, and it won't be a big shock. You know what I'm saying? The shock is going to be if it's exactly what we want it to be. That's going to be the shock.
Well, and I guess to kind of put a bow on this one, and Bear, to kind of like bring it back to your original question is, as we've kind of like gone down this winding road, where do you fall on that? Like, what do you think about these remakes? You're the one that posed the question. What do you feel about the remakes that are happening, and whether or not they should?
Yeah, so I like them. I just don't think they should be putting in their full effort towards it. So, in regards to what you were saying, is like maybe they could just be little subset games. I think they should allocate a larger portion to a new or continuation. And then if they're going to do little subset games like this, make them a lot smaller, maybe allocate a lot less resources. So if you're doing something like Hex, okay, well, we want it. We like this concept. We like this idea, but it might not be something that the broad audience is going to like. So like you said, witches, and we're getting into like supernatural and magic and that kind of stuff. So if someone doesn't like that, we're not going to put all our eggs in this basket for this time period. So I think that they could allocate a little more resources in maybe something different or something new. And then if they're going to still do these little one-offs, I think they get much more positive reviews if they just had it as, like you said, just a little subset for, these people will like it, these people won't, but that's okay because we didn't spend the last 3-4 years working on just one little part of this. So I don't hate them. I can't say that I love them, but that might change when the game comes out.
So it's kind of like the Hollywood system. It's not really a system, but it's like what we see all the time in Hollywood, though, where it's like, hey, interesting idea. I'm not going to give you $200 million for it. Here's $20 million. Go do your little project and then see what happens. And then Deadpool happens or something like that. Iron Lung, something like that happens, and it's like, oh wow, okay, it made a lot of money. Okay, well, let's run it back. Let's do it again. And now your budget's 100 million, 150 million. Like, okay, whereas like you throw something at it, hey, if it bombs, okay, well, we didn't invest tons of man hours. We didn't invest hundreds of millions. So yeah, that sucks. But we're not bleeding out as a result of it. Then you do that, and all you need is one to hit, and you recoup everything that you lost on the ones that didn't.
Exactly. Look at Clayface. They just put out a movie, Clayface, right? That's kind of more of a little subset type deal. I saw it was getting like kind of negative responses, but yeah, hey, just make a quick movie about this kind of interesting character. If people don't like it, it's not like our biggest thing of the century. So yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a different vibe as well. It's like, it's not just like, hey, it's a small character, it's a villain. It's also going to be like a body horror thing, which is completely, against the grain of what's going on with the rest of the greater universe. I don't know, Bear, do you have any other gaming topics on your list that you wanted to get in?
No, I think that was it. I saw the Hex thing, and I was a little. There's so much stuff going on around about it, like all the developer changes and all that stuff. So I just wanted to see if you guys had any more info, and it sounded like you did, which was good. Yeah, I was confused about it, to be honest. So I'm
it's a little troubling. It's definitely troubling, and I'm thinking we'll see. I think if Black Flag is a big success, and if they've done well with it, I think it will be. Hopefully, it'll be one of those things that spurs a bit of a pivot as we go forward. Because I think, again,
Yeah.
I think they're already seeing some things where it's like, hey, maybe we took a few wrong turns, and they're trying to undo those in Hex. It sounds like, and sounds like the big lessons that they learn won't come through what they try to fix in Hex. It's whatever comes after Hex is where they're going to be able to really apply the lessons. But all right, if nobody else has anything in games, then I guess we can move on to the entertainment section. I know that Jay you have finished both Daredevil Born Again Season 2 and Maul Shadow Lord, which I know that Bear has also watched the majority of that. I have watched not a single episode of either of these shows. So, Jay, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm going to go over, and obviously this will be spoiler free since you two haven't watched it. And I'll start with Daredevil. One thing I would like to say about both shows before I get started with the Daredevil review is that in the final 2 episodes of both shows, it's very rare in this day and age where you see a television show that doesn't pull punches, and neither one of these shows pulled any punches with their finales, both with cameos and
Stakes.
WTF moments where you're like, wow, I can't even believe they went there. And I will start with Daredevil. And obviously the story, we're still coming hot off of the heels of losing Foggy from the previous season. And that is a going plot in this season, basically getting vengeance for Foggy.
And we started, and we ended, that's how we opened Season 1, and we ended Season 1 where it was basically Daredevil Arkham City.
Yes, and it is very much Daredevil Arkham City. I'm not spoiling this when I say this is the season of the black suit. He wore the.
I've
black
seen
suit
so many
with
of the images, and it looks so freaking cool. I'm so excited.
And he's in the suit more than he's out of it, which is rare for these Marvel artsy fartsy Marvel shows anymore. They tend to leave him in. I'm like, dude, can you put him in the suit at least once this episode? He's pretty much Daredevil the entire time in this season. I will also say that Karen Page, obviously his love interest has been for quite some time. They had the long breakup during the Netflix series, but back together. She has become supremely militarized. She has obviously received training from Matt Murdock, both in melee and ranged combat. So she's quite the saboteur and quite the stealth operative. So that was cool to see because that was a very different side of Karen Page. Although I think we saw hints of it in the Netflix show when the Punisher was around, and I think she's drawing a lot of inspiration from what she learned from Frank. There are some side characters in this that are absolutely poignant. James Gandolfini's son, Michael Gandolfini, who plays the PR spin doctor for the Kingpin. He's fantastic in this.
Season 1, he started out as an annoyance, and he became quickly one of my favorite characters in Season 1.
Yeah, and he is. And like him or hate him, and we all hate him, but Buck, the chief of staff to Kingpin and his right-hand man and muscle and former SAS operative, is delightfully ruthless in this season. I mean, delightfully ruthless, dude. You're just like, he's going to do things and you're going to go, holy shit, dude. This probably had effects on you in real life having to do this scene. So there was some weird stuff in there. And I'm saving the best for last, obviously, for me, because I'm a huge Vince D'Onofrio fan. Vanessa, his wife, bigger role than she had a big role last season. And this season, she's really they're kind of like co-kingpins. She's his mouth when he needs diplomacy. And, she does a good job of that. So the other new character this season is Matthew Lillard, who is a CIA spook in this. And he is batshit nuts, crazy, doesn't care what he says, has no filter. Will do what he wants and say what he wants when he wants to do it. You can watch this show and forget that it's Marvel. And that's one thing I've always loved about Daredevil is it's so dark and seedy that you can watch it and forget that you're watching a Marvel show. It would stand alone without the Marvel connection as a great show. We do have some excellent cameos towards the end of the season. I'm not going to ruin any of them for you, but I can assure you that this season ends with closure. That being said, it's primed for season 3. And Marvel stated this morning, to give you an idea how weird this finale was, Marvel had to make a statement on X this morning, and they said, we will absolutely not be backing down from what occurred during the finale. We will not be walking it back. It is what it is, and that's where we are going into season 3.
I love that.
So it's a pretty kind of hardcore finish. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because there's nothing else I can say without absolutely spoiling it for you. But it was a fantastic season.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Any comments before I move on to Darth Maul Shadow Lord?
Just
I don't know, Barry, you got...
Yeah, I love that they put that statement out, and I love the direction of the show. I think I only watched the first 2 episodes so far.
Of season 1 or 2?
What's that?
Of season 1 or 2?
Just season 1.
Okay.
So I like that they're getting more like the Punisher kind of feel. Like this is an adult show. For real.
This is not Disney, brother.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was why I thought we would never get it. And then whenever they brought him back in She-Hulk, and it was just such a throwaway. It ruined the Daredevil character. And then they were doing the show, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And in fact, it wasn't. And to the point that everybody that was making it got fired. And they basically started from scratch. They did have to have some stuff that they repurposed. The bank episode that I know Jay enjoyed, but I hated. Turns out what's the Charlie Cox also hated that episode, and he tried to convince them to cut it, and they didn't. But so there was still some stuff that they had to sort of like retrofit into the story that they had. But they him and Vincent D'Onofrio convinced Disney, like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta like we said with games, you gotta give them what they want. Like, it's popular for a reason. We need to lean into that reason. And so they got them to do that. And that, again, season 1 had to be salvaged into what it became. Season 2 was where they started, like, from go doing this way. So I'm sure that they were able to go even harder in season 2 than they did in season 1.
Yeah, if one word just describes the state of the city for this entire season, it's just war. It's war. And I forgot about Vincent D'Onofrio, even though I said I was going to save him to last. But guys, Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. I mean, that dude, his range in this, and he always amazes me, no matter what he's in with his range. But the level of emotions that he can wear on his sleeve without saying a word, you can feel it. You can cut that with a knife. Just an excellent version of Kingpin for sure. So you're going to love it when you watch it. I don't see how you couldn't. I will say my only downward takeaway from it was there was some exposition moments where I felt like they were a little long in the tooth, but then looking back, I thought I probably needed the mental break, because the action set pieces they're tense, man. I mean, they're super tense. You don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, they're not afraid to take people out and, do things to them that you don't want to see done to them. So
it's like Game of Thrones in its prime, whenever you, no matter what was going on, you still had this sense of unease because you knew that at any time somebody could get a knife through the neck.
Yeah, I was like, who's dying this week? So anyway, moving on. We also have Maul Shadow Lord, which for the life of me, and I know why, it's a budget thing that they didn't just go live action with this. I think you guys have already seen all the reviews where this is the top rated Star Wars show of all time. And there's a reason for it, because it is. And I'm saying that knowing how much I love Andor. I think Andor's the best live action show we've ever had. But again, I got to be careful because there's cameos in this one that are going to blow your mind. So we basically got Maul trying to start his criminal underworld. Right now, he's operating as the Shadow Collective, and he's trying to get an in with Crimson Dawn, which is being ran by Dryden Voss, which we know from the Solo movie, Paul Bettany's character. So people obviously wondering if Kira is going to show up. He's basically traipsing around this planet Janix with a crew of Mandalorians and a couple other Zabrak brothers from Dathomir. And there is a cop named Lawson who's a member of the Janix security force. And obviously the Imperials are there, and at first they're not a big issue, but they become one. Then we have a Jedi Padawan named Devon, who's a Twi'lek female, and her master, who's voiced by Dennis Haysbert. If you guys don't know, he's the Allstate insurance voice.
Oh, he's Chaos?
Yes. Yeah. So, and there's a couple of different plots where you're gonna kind of know where it's heading right from the very beginning. But the end game plot took me by a big time surprise. You basically have 4 big bads in this show. 2 of them you won't see till the very end. One of them right off, and another one in the middle. But the funny thing is, there's going to be no way you're not rooting for Darth Maul.
I mean, yeah, he's the coolest villain.
Yeah.
And I get that part of the argument because we've talked about it before. He was the coolest villain ever, but he's still a bad guy, right?
I think he's just misunderstood, Jay.
It's
That's
weird,
understood.
and he says it best in like the second episode when he's talking to Devon, and he's like, "You're looking at everything wrong." He's like, "It's not always what's good or what's bad. Sometimes it's just what is." And
I mean, in
at
the
one
immortal
point,
words of Zangief, just because I'm bad guy doesn't mean I'm bad guy.
right, exactly. At one point, I thought Maul was going to be able to convince Devon's master that, hey, we're doing the right thing here.
He convinced me.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But I will tell you that man, I really wish you guys had watched it so we could.
Well, so Bear has. So I wanted to get Bear's thoughts. I know you haven't got to the end of it.
Watch this part I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
But
no, I haven't finished it yet. I'm excited to, and Jay's hyping me up for it. That's for sure. But I'm gonna finish it this weekend. I didn't want to like jump in and out, so I had to take a break while we're doing other things. And those other things were watching the Star Wars movies for May 4th. So it got me even more pumped, and now Jay's pumping me up even more on this, and super excited. That's for sure.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be a fight at the end, and people on the internet are already analyzing, criticizing, and giving their own 2 cents on it.
Whose dad can beat up whose dad?
Right, and Sam Witwer actually has the best take on the entire fight. When I listened to his 10 minutes on that fight, I was like, man, dude, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, you should. You voiced the guy. So, but funny story, by the way, funny piece of trivia. Sam Witwer keeps a bowl of green apples beside him when he's reading for Darth Maul. He says that the juice and acid in the apples is what helps make his voice for Darth Maul. So interesting. But still. Yeah.
That sounds like a superstition, but if it works for him, that's fine.
Hey, it's working, right?
Yeah. If it works, don't change it.
It is it's a fantastic show, and you cannot go wrong burning through it. I think it's like 23-minute episodes, and you'll love it. You'll love every second of it. I know you only got like 1 or 2 episodes left, Bear, but those 2 episodes alone are worth the price of admission for the whole show.
Well, Bear, after hearing Jay's thing, like obviously you've watched most of the series. What are your thoughts on what you've seen?
I really like it. It's definitely my favorite thing that they have put out in, I don't know how many years I can say. I think it fit the brutal. The storyline's good. I like the direction they went with Darth Maul, with him trying to find himself as like a Sith Lord type figure, where he's trying to worry more about like the mental aspect of things. I think the fights are cool enough for a cartoon version of it. The only thing that could have made it better, in my opinion, if it was live action, we watched, like I said, we just rewatched like all the Star Wars movies. On his first reveal, when he comes out and he does that, the stance and his dual blades come
Yeah.
out, and if you don't get pumped up after that, man, I don't know what we're doing.
I mean,
here. You know
forget
what I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the show, man. I was super excited. I'm gonna go see. I haven't seen the Mandalorian movie. I'll see how that goes, and then I'll see where my ranking system as of late is. I heard it's getting a little bit of mixed reviews, but I'm excited for it, to be honest. But yeah, Darth Maul
Same.
Shadow Lord, man, one of my favorite things that they have put out for sure.
Yeah, well, it does not surprise me that we'll be rooting for Darth Maul, because I was so disappointed whenever they killed him in episode 1. I remember seeing episode 1. I was so excited. We've talked about it on the show before. Like Bear was talking about, you see like boom, the lightsaber, and you're like, here we go. And then you see the second one, but you're like it's like I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was
Yeah.
a possibility. I didn't know that was an option. And then of course that was also the first time that we got to see this new lightsaber, like, because obviously back in the day you had old dudes just flipping these dowel rods that were wrapped in reflective tape around,
Right.
and
Yeah.
now we've got martial artists, trained stuntmen, that now you get to see this really fascinating, visually captivating style. And so we got to see all that. We got to see this really cool character, and I remember being so stoked that I was like, okay, we've got 3 prequels. We're gonna have this dude for 3 freaking movies. This is gonna be awesome. And then, like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
All right,
that
great.
was the saddest moment.
Yeah, and then it
Possibly
was
the
like,
saddest moment of my life.
yeah, same. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess whoever they replace him with is gonna have to be like even cooler. And okay, I get powerful, whatever. I get all that, whatever. But it's an old guy. It's not as cool as Darth Maul. Especially, I don't have any extended universe knowledge. Give me back my tattooed dude with the double lightsaber. I always wanted Maul back, and I'm glad that we finally have Maul back.
Yeah, you
Funny
probably.
story. Go ahead. Sorry, Barry.
I was just gonna say real quick, you guys probably can't see it in the camera, but I've always had a Darth Maul wedding ring on. He's been my favorite character since I was a kid.
Nice.
And I was just going to say, I sent you guys the article, Russ, on Discord this morning, or article/video on Exar Kun. And Exar Kun was the first Jedi to use a double-bladed lightsaber.
He sure
which
was.
is part of the. That was kind of some alliteration there before I got to this review tonight. But yeah, he was the first Jedi/Sith, because he becomes a Sith, to use the double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah, and he
roughly
Sorry, go ahead.
3,900 years prior to the movies.
Yeah, and
What were
he
you saying,
was
Bear?
the alchemist, right? He would create these big monsters, and
Yeah.
yeah, he had some cool aspects. Yeah, he was like the mage of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, he was a weird cat.
All right. Well, that I don't have anything for movies or TV shows. I don't have anything else there. Did you have anything else, Bear, that you wanted to add before we close the door on tonight's episode?
No, I don't. I think we covered everything I was, looking at recently. It's always a blast to come on here, guys. I really appreciate it as always.
having you.
It was
Love to
very
have you, man.
fun. Yeah. So no, thanks. That's all I had. Thanks, guys.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to treat this like a Teams call and say, Bear, hang back for just a minute after the after the outro ends. But for everybody else, thank you for watching Star Wars Theory, and we will see you next week.
I must leave you